Nation of Fit in 10. It is day 19. We are into the teens. Sorry, we are just almost out of the teens. Nearly done 3 weeks here. And I'm going to get back to your feedback here. But before I do, let's talk about a couple things. One of those things being real whole food. I really want you to do your best to try to get real whole food. Okay? When it comes to things like nuts, try to eat raw nuts. Raw nuts, you can have salted raw nuts, that's fine. When it comes to meats, try to eat fresh meat. Do not eat processed meat. Do not eat salami or pepperoni or whatever else is out there, okay? You know, typically, for example, I'm just using this purely as an example, processed meats have, you know, they've got things like nitrates, they've got colorings, they've got sugar, they've got artificial flavoring. We want to try to stick with foods if you're not sure, but if you're not sure and you're picking up foods that are in packages, we really want to try to stick with foods that are that have a very short ingredient list. Okay, so for example, you know, these are Costco's got a great selection of nuts, by the way. So these are macadamia nuts. These are really good, great source of micronutrients and of fat, of course, and you know, a certain level of fiber as well. And the ingredients in here are just macadamia nuts and sea salt. That's it. These are dry roasted and they are super tasty, and they are super dangerous because, you know, you eat like 10 of them and you get like literally 10 grams of fat. Actually, so you eat about 10 of them. 10 is about 15 grams. Yeah, so you're getting close to 10 grams fat with 10. That's you know, that's almost 100 calories. It's crazy. It's crazy how energy dense nuts are. Anyways, I digress. All right, let's get into, oh no, one other thing I want to say. If you are full, if you're feeling full, if you feel like you can't eat all your food, then don't. You don't have to. Okay, I don't want you stuffing yourself. You know, this is primarily due to two things. The fact that you're eating more real whole food in your diet, you're eating foods that are more voluminous, calorie sparse. This is typical of most real whole foods. And then you're also eating more protein. Protein's highly satiating. So those two things are going to make you feel full. All right. All right, so yesterday I read a pretty big paragraph, and this was, somebody wrote me a big paragraph, and it was under the title, name something specific you need help with. And one thing I don't know if I talked about, but they wrote, I'm not gonna read the whole paragraph again, but they wrote, I'm finding myself being super hungry and super grumpy in the afternoons until I push through the feeling. You know, and this, I'm not suggesting this is the case, but if it is around that time of the month, obviously, you ladies, you probably all know this, but clearly better than I do. But, you know, you're going to feel this way. And I'm just wondering if this is the case for this person when they wrote this. Anyways, when you get to that point in the month, you know, your progesterone levels drop quite dramatically. And it happens very, very fast, and this really affects your mood and your energy levels, etc. So, you know, that may have something to do with that. I don't know. Just some thoughts, because I read that and I didn't mention anything about that yesterday. So, moving right along. Is there anything you would like me to cover in this week's video series? I love knowing how things work so that I can visualize it happening, maybe some info on the science of fat loss and muscle gain. I also understand the data. I'd also like to understand the data in the macros portion. I've been both way under and way over. Okay. All right, so there's lots of topics here. I'm not going to read the rest of this because it looks like there is a lot that they're asking, because already the science of fat loss. So let's just start from a very, very easy, you know, 10,000 foot view. In order to lose fat, you have to be in an energy deficit. Okay, what is energy? Well, energy is just is a measure, well, when we measure energy, when it comes to food, we're measuring it in calories, and calories is really just a measure of heat. It's how much energy it takes to warm 1 gram of water by 1 degree Celsius, okay? And 1 calorie is equal to like 4 joules. And joules are the fundamental measurement of all energy. Okay, so anyways, probably don't care about that because that's not really gonna be helpful. So anyways, when we eat, we take in energy. When I'm doing this video right now, I'm outputting energy. So really what we wanna try to do is we want to expend more energy than what we take in. So in terms of energy coming into the system, I am the system. In terms of energy coming in, there's only one way, and we know what that way is, right? It is food. Okay, and you know, this can be healthy food, this can be junk food. Obviously there's going to be a difference with those things. And then there's many things that lend to our energy output. Some things that we have control over, some things that we don't really have control over. So, well, I guess to some degree we have control over them all, but let's go through them. Okay, there's 4 major categories. So, number 1, we've got our BMR. This is the amount of energy it takes to keep the lights on. Okay, so if you just imagine just lying around all day, not doing anything, not really moving, but you're awake, this is your BMR. It's basically the amount of energy to keep all the processes that are happening in the body functioning and running. Your basal metabolic rate. This is about, on average, around 60% of the total energy output. Okay, of your total energy output for the day. Next, we have something that's called NEAT. Okay, it's an acronym for non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is just the energy that we need to perform our daily tasks. Like me doing this video right now, and I'm talking, I'm moving around my hands. That requires energy. So we call this non-exercise activity, okay? So there's a certain amount of energy that's gonna go towards that. Third, we've got exercise activity. Obviously, we know this one. A lot of us exercise purely to lose weight or try to manage our weight. You know, some of us also do it for our mind, but ultimately this is a great way to add some energy output. Although I will say that NEAT is really underutilized. So really just keeping yourself active throughout the day, not necessarily exercising, but keeping yourself active is a great way to add up calories all throughout the day without it feeling like you're doing exercise. So keep your NEAT up, by the way. Finally, we have thermic effect of food, and this is the amount of energy it takes to digest food. It takes energy to digest food. All right, around 30% of the energy in protein goes towards digestion of protein. So protein has a very high thermic cost. So this is a good thing. This is one reason why I increase your protein, or one of the reasons why I increase your protein in the challenge. Number 2, sorry, not number 2, but second one would be carbohydrates. That takes about 6 to 8% calories to digest it. And then fat, it takes about 3% of the calories. So fat doesn't take much doesn't take much energy for digestion of fat. So you've got essentially all 4 of those things leading to or lending itself to well, I guess there's something else I didn't mention. There's also fiber, okay? Fiber is a carbohydrate, but it's sort of an entity unto itself, and that actually has a very high thermic effect, somewhere around 30% as well, okay? So this is why we always say if you want to lose weight, go high protein, high fat. High protein, high fiber. Okay, those are 2 things you want to implement. Okay, and this is one reason why I do put a fiber target in your macros coming up. So all those things will lend themselves to energy output. And of course, you've got one energy input, right? That food is highly modifiable. We cannot eat one day, we can eat tons of junk, right? We can modify that on a dime very, very fast. When it comes to energy output, BMR is not really modifiable. I mean, we can try to add muscle, but that's gonna take time, right? Adding a little more lean body mass is gonna increase our BMR. So not really modifiable. Exercise activity, non-exercise activity, you know, somewhat modifiable, but there's a limit to that, obviously. And a thermic effect of food, not really modifiable, you know, somewhat modifiable, but I mean, it's sort of set in stone, but you can modify that by what you choose to eat. But that's really going to have a small consequence on your overall energy output. But still some level of contribution nonetheless. So ultimately, if we're trying to lose weight, we have to be in an energy deficit. So ultimately, we are going to try to expend more energy by moving more, exercising more. And we're also going to look at the diet, make some modifications to the diet, lower the energy intake to some degree. Working with both those things will help to create an energy deficit, right? And that's what we need. So for fat loss. So that's where I'll start with that. So let's move on to the message of the day because I'm almost at 11 minutes. And we'll go to more details about fat loss tomorrow. Message of the day on this day 19, progression, not perfection. Progression, not perfection. Always look for ways that you can improve. This, you know, diet and maintenance and anything you're working towards, a project, a business, or it's not about, you know, full throttle, doing everything you can, you know, extreme. No, that will not last. It's about putting in a little bit every day. It's like you're constantly working on that project, right? You've got some check boxes that you've got to check off daily, and that's what you do. Okay, none of this extreme stuff. No super low calories, no ridiculous amounts of exercise. You know, yeah, this is all going to work short term, but not long term. Okay, and we'll talk about the negatives. I'll talk about the negatives of low calorie dieting, especially long term. The negative impact of low calorie dieting, and actually why people get fatter over time from following low calories. Anyways, I kind of, you know, I digress a little bit here. Progression, not perfection. Focus on making improvement. Look for areas that you can improve upon. Make small steps, small targets, and keep moving forward. Okay, this is not about being perfect, but this is about putting in the effort every day. And then, of course, if you know that there's a lot more room for improvement, then we just have to start working towards that. Little steps. Positive energy, positive vibes. Believe in yourself. For the love of God, give some gratitude. I'll talk to you tomorrow. See ya. Bye.